Hey, we're alive. Yet, who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? We're not to chapter 4 yet, but we will be getting there probably next week. Tonight we're going to be talking about some of the providences that we see in the book of Esther, and this is one of the things that comes up that gives us an example of what Mordecai was talking about when he spoke to Esther at this particular time. Our study, second week of Esther, the invisible God who preserves his people. As we go through the study, what we're looking for is to take the Old Testament knowledge and see how it reveals Christ in the New Testament and see what we can learn for how we are to live our lives today. Take something away from here that's useful, that we can use in our daily lives, make us stronger in our faith, make others see Christ in us. Last week we looked at the history of the time of Esther and the Persian Empire, looked at some alleged discrepancies that have come up, and then we ended with chapter 1, the king's banquet, and Queen Vashti being deposed. Just a quick summary. The king threw a feast, and he commanded that the queen appear, and she did not. And the scripture says that she was to show her beauty. The commentaries indicate that she was probably just a few weeks from giving birth at this point in time when this was to happen. And she refused. Now here's a couple of things. We're going to see this as we go through the coming weeks. There was two things. One is if the king asked you to come, you came. No questions. Remember the two rules? Who remembers the two rules from last week? Rule number 1, the king's always right. Rule number 2, if the king's wrong, reread rule number 1. Thank you. Yeah. So she was required to come. Likewise, if you appeared before the king and you weren't asked, you were subject to being killed. You didn't show up before the king without his permission. So she refuses. For whatever reason, she refuses, and the king goes to his princes and these people who are his advisors and said, "What shall we do? Oh, this is going to cause great turmoil."